We are talking with, I'm not going to apologize for saying it, one of our absolute favorite legislators in Trenton because he's a reliable conservative, says what's on his mind, and often says what we're thinking. Assemblyman Jay Weber, representing New Jersey's 26th Legislative District. Assemblyman, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Busy news week, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're a busy man. You're in the news, which is nothing out of the ordinary. But the big event coming up at the moment is New Jersey Reagan Day. At the end of this month, March 31st. It's an annual event, which I think started back in 2004, correct?
Correct, yep. This will be the 12th year.
It's the 12th year, but the thing that amazes me is, for an event that's been going on for that long, sometimes support begins to wane, interest begins to recede, but it's only continuing to grow. This year, you have a very high-profile guest, former Vice President Dick Cheney. And it's also my understanding that you're sold out, correct?
Yeah, we've been oversubscribed for a few days now, and it's really remarkable the response we've been getting. Real tribute, I think, to both President Reagan's memory and his legacy, and the Vice President's contributions to our country. People have really just shown an outpouring of interest, and we've filled up our slots, and we're working with the venue now to try to open up some more seats for our friends, because there are people who are now kind of starting a wait list, and we're going to try to get them in too if we can.
I'm going to have to try to sneak in the back door, it sounds like.
We'll leave a lock open for you.
I appreciate that. What made you just start a Reagan Day to begin with back in 2004? What was the impetus? I mean, I know obviously as conservatives we both admire President Reagan for a variety of good reasons, but why have an event?
You know, so many reasons. First of all, it's fun. Secondly, I had done it in law school with the Republican Club, and we used to have a Ronald Reagan birthday party. And I had run for state senate in 2003 in a primary and lost, but it made a lot of friends and wanted to keep in touch with them and continue to do things with the Republican Party up in Morris County. And so I said, let's revive that Reagan birthday party. And of course, the president was still alive in 2004. And so we didn't have so much a Reagan Day as a Ronald Reagan birthday party. We had a birthday cake, and we signed a card for him and sent it out to California. But every year, people said, that was a really good idea, and let's keep it alive. And we kept adding things. Soon we made it a dinner instead of just kind of a little get together. Then we got speakers. And the last several years, it really just started to snowball. We're partnering with Young America's Foundation, who's the nonprofit that preserves President Reagan's ranch out in California and runs some wonderful programs for high school and college students to teach them about conservatism and American government. And with the APPS partnership and continuing interest from people who keep coming back year after year, this thing has ballooned from about 40 people on a cold, rainy night in February of 2004 to, at the end of March, I think we're going to get north of 800 people, if not more, at the Westmount Country Club in Woodland Park.
800 people, which I think is the raw number of Republicans left in Camden County.
Well, I can tell you there's a lot of Republicans in Passaic and Morris and Union and Essex and Bergen who are excited to come, and obviously there's people from all over the state, but it's really starting to attract people from all over the region, and it's a great night. People come, have a good time. They reminisce a little bit, but they also get encouraged, and they draw inspiration for the future and for the fights we have now. And so we don't drag it out. People are generally in and out in 2 hours or less, and people just keep coming back. It's a terrific night, and I'm looking forward to it.
You talk about the inspiration that guests at Reagan Day draw from the event. I can vouch for that. When I was at Reagan Day, it was very much a special experience, the camaraderie, the reflection upon this great president and his legacy. But it's something that I think a lot of Republicans forget, Assemblyman, is that millennials are a larger and larger voting bloc. And I'm 30 years old. I was born at the end of Ronald Reagan's first term, I have no first-person recollection of the man. So without that first-person recollection, I think a lot of people in our generation, when they hear Republicans talk about Ronald Reagan and hold him out there as a model for public service, conservative leadership, they kind of give you this blank stare because, again, they don't have a point of view. Clearly, you think that Ronald Reagan is still someone that the party should talk about. But if you're talking to a millennial constituent about Ronald Reagan, what do you think they need to know to understand why we revere this man?
Well, I think they need to know that Reagan was great, not because necessarily anything that he thought of on his own. Not that necessarily he was original. He was unique, but Reagan was great because he loved America and the principles upon which we were founded, and he had great faith in the American people. And I think if all a millennial has to do is just learn a little bit about Reagan, just watch him communicate, and he just exudes patriotism and a confidence that span the generations. I mean, this is a man who loved the Declaration of Independence and Abraham Lincoln, could communicate in a 20th century way, loved the people whom he served, and if he were here today, he'd I think feel the same way, that he just has great confidence and faith in America because it's not so much a piece of land as it is an idea, and that idea really fosters what's best about the human spirit, and allows people to prosper and thrive and get along in a way unlike any other nation and any other system has ever provided an opportunity for people to thrive and get along. And so those lessons, didn't stop becoming relevant in 1989 when he left office. Reagan and the Reagan era was a refresher. It was a reminder of the uniqueness of our country, the importance of our ideals, and to the extent that we can remind ourselves of that and bring those principles and those ideas forward, not look back on the 80s and wish we were there, but look back on the 80s and go, you know what? The same ideas that were relevant in 1776 and the same ideas that were relevant in 1865 were the same ideas that helped win the Cold War in the 1980s, and they're the same ideas that can help us solve the problems in 2015 and can lead millennials to a future that is brighter than what we have today, and give them the opportunity to experience the American dream in a very robust way, raise families, and be proud of the place they're from. So that's how I would start, and then I would bring that millennial to Reagan Day, and they would meet a lot of people who feel the same way, listen to a guy like Dick Cheney, who has dedicated his life to serving this republic, and listen to Ronald Reagan, and get a feel for his leadership. And if we do that, I think we've got a convert.
And I know something that former Vice President Cheney has talked about in the news and made some waves recently is this contrast between Barack Obama, President Obama, and Republican leaders of the past, including President Reagan. There's this sense of optimism that you touched on, which President Reagan exuded about America. He loved America. He liked to talk about the American dream. He made Americans proud to be American. That's something that we're lacking with the current administration. Is that part of the reason why you decided to invite Vice President Cheney?
In part. I mean, look, the Vice President has had such a long and distinguished career and was an early supporter of President Reagan in 1980. And he's the man is living history. So you want people at Reagan Day who can tell you, look, I sat in the Oval Office with Ronald Reagan, and this is what he said to me. I mean, that's just very special, and there will be fewer and fewer people who can do that as the years go on. So we want to prioritize and capture that. But the sense that you've touched on, Matt, is exactly right. That unfortunately, we have a president who doesn't seem to share the view that the United States is special in some way, that we are the last best hope of mankind on earth. And Reagan believed that, and it wasn't a blind, kind of jingoistic or xenophobic belief that with no substance or no thought. It was his conclusion after reviewing the facts and reflecting on what our purpose is in the world and what we stand for as a people. And you just don't get that sense from Barack Obama. And I think people are hungry to hear their leaders talk about America in that way again, not because they want to feel good or because they want to shut their eyes to reality. Quite the contrary, because we need to get grounded in what's right and true about our country before we can face the world and say we're going to lead. And there's just a sense that there's not a confidence in our foundation at the top, and that you're starting to see that after 6 years, and people are tired of it.
I hear you talk about America passionately. I know you to be a patriot, Assemblyman, and you have an ability to articulate some of these larger issues in a way that a lot of politicians don't. Looking at the news today, we once again have a New Jersey public official, this time a federal official, Bob Menendez, in the federal government's crosshairs. He's under investigation. It looks like he may be criminally charged by the Justice Department. There's this vacuum of leadership nationally, and it also looks like if Governor Chris Christie decides to run for president, we may have an opening at the statewide level in the not-too-distant future. I know it may be hard to pin you down, and I understand why, but is higher office something Jay Weber may consider in the future?
Well, thanks for asking, Matt. But
I have to. People will be angry if I didn't ask.
Very, very honored to represent the 26th District in the Assembly. I'm going to ask the people of the 26th District to return me to the Assembly at the end of this year in November. So that's my focus on serving them and that request to them. I love my state. I love my country. And if there were other opportunities to serve my state or my country that I thought, in which I thought I could make a real difference, that made sense for me and my wife Johanna and our kids, I'd certainly think hard about it and think about whether to offer that service. But I got to tell you, I'm so, again, just humbled and honored to be in the Assembly and serve my constituents that, it would, to think about even higher office is a little intimidating in a way, but I'd have to consider it because I very much want our state and our country to succeed, and good people have to stand up and step up sometimes, and if there were opportunities, I'd certainly look at it.
Well, I'm going to continue working on you.
Well, that wasn't effusive enough for you, man. You've been listen, I really appreciate your friendship. I enjoy your blog, and I think you're not just informative and insightful, but entertaining. So appreciate it, and keep up the good work with it.
I appreciate that, Assemblyman, and I hope that everybody listening to this who was inspired by Jay Weber's words today will think about, I was going to say attend Reagan Day, but you may have to settle for the waiting list for Reagan Day.
Well, our website's njreaganday.com, and we're telling people, look, we're full, but there's a waiting list, and we can put you on it. If we can accommodate you, we will. If we can't, we'll tell you we're sorry we can't. But you got nothing to lose by trying to get on the waiting list, by just putting your name in there and giving it a shot. So I hope people are interested enough to at least check out the website and consider whether they come up on the 31st.
Date again, like the Assemblyman just said, March 31st. It's a new venue this year, Westmount Country Club in Woodland Park. Doors open at 6 o'clock. If you're lucky enough to score a ticket, they're $50 per guest. And again, as the Assemblyman said quite well, you don't even have to be a history nerd like us to be able to mix and meet with individuals who knew Ronald Reagan and had the opportunity to work with them. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and one that you shouldn't pass up. Assemblyman Jay Weber, we're proud to call you friend. We appreciate all the good work you do in the Assembly. We wish you the best of luck with Reagan Day, and we're going to have you back on soon to talk about some of the issues that continue to percolate in the State House.
Looking forward to it, man. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Assemblyman.